Now, the Bucs did find their offensive coordinator this week. Former Falcons offensive coordinator Zach Robinson succeeds Josh Grizzard. And for more on this, let's bring in our Sunday Faceoff panel, longtime Bucs beat writer Roy Cummings and Jason Powers. Gentlemen, welcome. Well, the Bucs have landed on their new OC, fifth one in the last 5 years. So, Roy, let me start out with you tonight. Was this the right choice in your opinion? And what do you think he'll bring to the table that could actually help this Bucs offense?
Yeah, I guess it's the right choice. In a word, I would say it's an upgrade. But in another word, I'd also say it's unnecessary. And in another word, I'd say it's uninspiring. Okay, it's an upgrade on Josh Grizzard, but, there was a time when this Bucs offense was really humming, and there was talk about Baker Mayfield being the MVP, and Josh Grizzard was the talk of the town, and how are they doing this? There's nothing really wrong with the Bucs offense. It's loaded with talent, arguably the best talent this franchise has ever had, some of the best talent in the NFL. The problem with the Bucs is on the defensive side of the ball. I would have been much more pleased if the Bucs had gone out and hired a defensive coordinator. If you're going to keep Todd Bowles, you know what? Maybe cut back a little bit on his responsibilities. Maybe find a different defensive scheme where you're not playing so much soft zone, where you have to blitz all the time to get to the quarterback, which they can't do anyway. Look, it's fine. I don't think the offense needs fixing. The defense needs fixing. Special teams need fixing. And so for that reason, I'm uninspired of this unnecessary upgrade on Josh Grizzard at offensive coordinator.
Is there anything, though, Roy, that you think he brings to the table that's going to help him, especially in his knowledge there in the conference, in the division?
Yeah, I suppose that helps. Yeah, the Falcons a little bit, which is arguably, okay, it's one of the two or three teams that you have to worry about in the division. But, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, they didn't lose the division last year because they couldn't score points. They lost the division because they couldn't stop the other team from scoring points, because they can't get to a quarterback, because their offensive line was decimated with injuries. At the end of the day, I said it's an upgrade from Josh Grizzard, but I don't know that it was a necessary upgrade. Does he turn him into a 23, 24 point plus offense? Maybe, but do they need that? No, they need a 17-point defense.
Well, Jason, Baker Mayfield had a lot to do with this hire, as you would expect. Do you think Robinson was a good choice for the Bucs? And what do you think that he could possibly bring to Tampa that might make him the right hire to try to get this offense back on track?
Well, as we know, or if you don't know, Robinson is part of that Sean McVay tree. They were together with Liam Cohen when Baker was in L.A. for the brief time that he was in L.A. So I think that's part of the familiarity that Baker likes. I think, again, if this was not a make or break year for both Baker and Todd Bowles, maybe you go in a different direction. But both these guys have to have good years to keep their jobs potentially in Tampa next year. So I think the safe pick was Zach Robinson. About as far as what he can do, obviously, hopefully he can unleash maybe Bucky Irving a little bit, like he did Bijan Robinson. I know Bijan's probably a little bit better of a player than Bucky, but figure out ways to be creative with Bucky. Again, you have a veteran offense, you got older guys, so maybe you don't want to change the language. If you bring in a new OC that has a completely different system and language, I don't know how well that fits in with a Mike Evans decision to come back or not. So I think that probably played into it. So I think, again, is it a great hire? No. Is it a terrible hire? No. I think part of it, the situation the Bucs were in, where the future of Todd Bowles is very much in question. I think that probably made it more difficult to maybe get a top-end OC. There's also a couple of OCs that you may have been interested in that are potentially getting head coaching jobs. Brian Daboll, some of those kind of guys. Mike McDaniel, I know they went after McDaniel and talked to him. I don't think McDaniel wanted to come knowing that he's potentially here for 1 year and that's it. So, again, tough circumstances. Roy makes a great point about the defense. The offense was okay. Could they have played better? Yeah. Injury issues on the offensive line contributed to that. But again, if Zach Robinson can get the best out of a guy like Bucky, maybe that offensive line run game is a little bit better with some blocking schemes, I think it can be effective. And remember, Zach Robinson has been a play caller for 2 years, where a couple of the other guys they talked to, the guy from Cincinnati, had not called plays, and you couldn't take that risk again with a guy who had never called plays before.
Yeah, both great points from both of you. And He had a lot of success against the Bucs in 2 years. 3-1, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. He averaged 30 points a game against him. I don't know if that's on the Bucs defense, but Zach Robinson definitely saw something to make that happen. Great stuff as always from our face-off panel. The professor himself, Roy Cummings, in the house tonight, along with my buddy Jason Powers. Guys, thank you as always.
Thank you, Mike.
You got it.